Good evening, folks, and a very warm welcome to you. Welcome to the Geelong Region Soccer Show. My name's Tonchi Prusak, and I'm your host for tonight. This is a very special pre-recorded episode because, as we speak, I'm away for a little bit of a getaway. In the meantime, it is episode 20. Can you believe it? 170 episodes and still going strong. And we wouldn't be going strong if it wasn't for the help, the assistance, the support of our sponsors, and namely our major sponsor, The Gordon, but also our business advertisers, Curva Coaching and Just Turfing Instant Turf, our major business advertising sponsors for this year, and Harcourts North Geelong and Geelong Galvanising as well. Tonight, we've got a very, very special show. We'll be catching up with a man called Steve Sherry, and he was, for the old folk, they'll remember, he was the captain of the Bell Park Club back in the halcyon days from 1988 to 1990, and very recently they had a players' reunion, or a reunion of that particular team, that particular generation up at the Bell Park Sports Club. And Bell Park is one of the clubs that have supported us this year, so we thank Bell Park and everyone up there, and Rose Puritina, the president. And they will be having a all players' reunion, so players' reunion from past players' reunion from all club, from all eras, I guess, coming up, and Steve will be joining us a bit later on to tell us all that. However, we're going to be talking to two very, very important guests who have already been on the show this year. Councillor Eddie Contel from the City of Greater Geelong Council. He also is a member of the Major Events Subcommittee, and also the chair of Football Geelong, or Geelong Region Football Committee as it was once known, Mike McKinstry. And the topic of discussion, the topic of conversation, the Geelong Regional Football Facility. It has been in the news once again recently, and it is a topic that we need to keep alive. And we're going to catch up with those two gentlemen to find out what's the latest and latest developments, latest news. But also, there's not much time before the state elections come next year, and that's going to be the key. We'll be talking to those two gentlemen immediately after this break. But first of all, here's a couple of words from our major sponsor, The Gordon.
Your future is in your hands. There is a whole world waiting for you, and your choices determine how you will impact it. At The Gordon, we recognise this. That's why we champion hands-on learning. Get your hands dirty. Grab what's in front of you. Learn by doing. Turn your passion, your ideas, and mould them into your creations. You'll be supported the entire way. You'll grow your skills in small classes, guided by teachers who are industry experts. You'll learn in state-of-the-art facilities or out in a real-world workplace setting. Your hands-on experience will increase your understanding and put you ahead of your university peers. You'll graduate work-ready, and you'll graduate sooner, with a huge range of qualifications to choose from and support services to enable your success. Now is the time to continue your learning journey. At The Gordon, your future is in your hands.
Yes, a big shout out to the CEO there, Joe, and everyone at The Gordon for all their support this year. Now, about 3 weeks ago, Councillor Eddie Contel put up a post where he notified everyone, I guess, and mentioned that he met with, along with Football Geelong and Football Victoria representatives, with local state MP for Lara, Ella George. And one of the conversations there, or the topic of conversation, was a regional facility. And we have joining us on the show Eddie Contel, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you. Eddie, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks, Tonchi. Thanks for having me on once again, and congratulations on 170 episodes. It's a fantastic effort, and what you and the team are doing for local football here in Geelong is magnificent. So thank you.
Oh, thanks, mate. But we just celebrate the big milestones, the 50, the 150, 200. So hopefully another 30 episodes and we'll be able to have a big celebration there. But thanks for agreeing to come on the show. Now, we've also got Mike McKinstry as well. And Mike, good evening, and how are you? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good, mate. I don't have any flags in the background, so unfortunately, like Eddie, but no, we're doing all right. Thank you.
Oh, well, what can you do? I've got the sponsors. Eddie's got the flags. It's all looking very...
He's in the formal chamber, so good on him.
Very diplomatic. And now, gents, let's talk about that meeting, because you both attended that meeting. And first of all, Eddie, over to you. How did you see the meeting? Or first of all, how did the meeting come about? Through whose initiative, or is that even important? But how did that come about? What was the main topic of discussion with Ella George?
Well, I guess the meeting came about through collaboration, and I certainly applaud Mike for the leadership he's been taking in this place. As you know, you've had us on a couple of times now. Mike and myself and a number of other people have been working very closely. We all agreed that it's important that we continue to bring this topic to the correct levels of government and the appropriate levels of government at various times. And so with that, Mike reached out to Ella. Ella was more than pleased to meet with us, and we had a great discussion, and we'll talk about that a little more as we go through the conversation.
Yeah. Now, Mike, it's a topic that needs to keep on coming up. We need to keep it active, and with the state elections coming up next year, we know the state government is probably the main co-financier of a lot of these grants for sporting facilities. And how important was it to get Ella on board? And how did, in your opinion, how did it go?
Yeah, no, look, I think it was a really, really positive meeting. And hats off to Eddie. We're not sort of blowing one another's trumpet here, but I think a lot of people in the community know this has been a topic that's been discussed for many years, and for various reasons, it sort of sometimes loses a little bit of momentum. And good on Eddie. Recently, between him and I and some others, we've tried to breathe some fresh energy into the focus on a regional facility. And then when we chapped on Ella's door, it was like an open door. Very much come in, talk to us, and she's very, very supportive. And I think it was a really, really positive meeting. We've still got a lot of things to do to plan for the future. But one of the things, for example, coming out of that Eddie will probably talk on, is the potential now to catch up with Richard Marles, which is actually in the pipeline. So that's one of the things as well. So we talked to both state government and also, and then talked to, as where appropriate, the federal government as well.
Yeah. Now, Eddie, early in the year when we spoke, we talked about how, look, the city of Greater Geelong is quite on board with it, particularly councillors yourself and Councillor Anthony Aiken, who's up in the north. And the idea of, well, I mean, it's still obviously kind of more in the thought stage, but the idea is to have the regional facility up in the north and a sub-regional facility down in Armstrong Creek. Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of, for those who aren't aware of what is happening in the background, the reports that have been issued and all of that kind of stuff, give us a little bit of a kind of I guess an update as to what we could expect in the next, say, 2 to 5 years with regards to football facilities in the Geelong area from the City of Greater Geelong perspective.
Yeah, sure. So since you spoke to us last, there's been a lot of work go on at various levels, council and also Football Geelong and Football Victoria. And what we did is we refreshed all the numbers and made sure that we had the correct data for where we are today. And so as such, Football Victoria, Football Geelong created the 2025 State of Play report, and then the City of Greater Geelong updated its regional sports development report, which what that indicated is exactly what we thought, is that the numbers that we had going back to 2021 have well and truly been surpassed. And I think we mentioned it previously that, based on current population and participation, we're down about 30 pitches in Geelong. So that's really important to know. The other thing that was really important was the next steps. I mean, you might recall when we spoke on this show last, Tonchi, that the next steps were to create a business case so that we could then quantify where the site might be for a regional facility and what costs that might entail. So what was good about that is that initially we thought a business case would be, around that $700,000 mark. That's been now reduced to a quantified number of about 200,000, which is very achievable.
Oh, wow.
And what was great out of that meeting, and I'm sort of off tack slightly, but I'll come back, is that there's real commitment in the room from Football Victoria, from Ella, and from council to get that business case completed. So that's what we're really working on hard now, so that as we head into the state election, we've got solid data on costs and preferred locations for a regional soccer facility. Sub-regional, that's occurring in alignment with what we're doing with regional, and there's certainly a desire from state government and council to expand our facilities in the south, not only in soccer, but cricket and things of that nature. You might have seen that even last week at the council meeting, we adopted a new master plan for new facilities down in the Armstrong Creek area, which would see another 4 additional soccer fields down there as well. So I think in the next 2 to 5, I would suggest we'll have a sub-regional, and I'd like to really think we've got some good commitments and we're on the way to delivering a regional. A lot will be proven, I guess, in the next 12 to 24 months, because this is where the heavy lifting will have to occur as we head into the state election. But I certainly sense from the meeting, and Mike will speak for himself, that Ella would love to see something like this delivered under her watch.
Yeah. Now, Mike, when you were on the show, you'd just come back from Albury Wodonga, where they've got an absolutely magnificent new facility. And I know, speaking to a few parents, my brother included, of North Geelong players who ended up going up there for an NPL game afterwards. And they were just blown away. My brother, in fact, he's an owner builder and a Sparky, so he sort of took it upon himself to have a really critical look at the construction of it and everything. And he was likewise blown away. You've gone to a lot of different regions and seen what's out there, and you've obviously been able to take in, I guess, the best of everything. What would you like to see in say a regional facility here in Geelong that you've seen that has really caught your eye in some of the other places around Victoria?
Yeah, well, look, there's a number of examples, and they've been talked about in the past. Ballarat's got one, Bendigo's got one, Shepparton, Albury Wodonga. The Wodonga's probably the newer one. The Albury one's a bit older, and there's a new investment going in at the moment in Gippsland. And look, although we're coming from behind, if you like, in terms of catching up from a regional point of view, because all of those other regional cities have already got a regional facility for soccer, let's view that as a positive, in the sense that we can actually learn from some of the things that can be improved. And the good news is that some of the people, in particular Locke Cole from Football Victoria, he was actively involved personally in the Wodonga one, and is actually on the working group also for the Gippsland one. So what that enables us to do is take the learning from some of those areas and say, how could we tweak that, so that if we go down the path, and we will go down the path of investment in Geelong, how do we get the best state-of-the-art facility, so that, we get... Sometimes when you put in a facility, things don't quite go to plan. So rather than us just repeat any little tweaks that need adjusting, I think we'll benefit from that in the future. So, yeah, I think we're in really good shape. But yes, we all want it to be there tomorrow. We'd love that.
Yep.
But the reality is that it's going to take time to get there, as Eddie said. But there's a lot of things in the pipeline, and the football community, the soccer community out there should have confidence that this is happening. Would we like it to happen quicker? Yes, we all would, I guess. But it is beginning to happen.
Now, that's a really good point you make, Mike, and I'm going to throw it over to you, Eddie. And look, I've had, from my own involvement in various football roles over the years, um, projects, particularly infrastructure projects, they don't happen overnight. There's a process involved. You touched on the business plan being the first part, but from a council point of view, can you explain to us, I guess, the process is involved in the idea of being created to eventually actually the occupancy certificate being made, and roughly the processes involved, because it's not pretty straightforward as people might think, is it?
No, and I mean, sometimes it's about just having the timing and the right vision and the right group of people involved. And at the moment, I'm starting to sense that we're getting there. And I know people feel like it's been a lot. It has. I'm not suggesting it's not, but you need to. That's part of the process, is creating the vision, the discussion, the community push, and then as different levels of government start to understand that, you start to get their attention. I think that's where we are now. We've got some attention from the right people. And I can say, not only from Ella's perspective, but the right people within council are now starting to pay attention. We're now starting to draft up our priorities list for the state election. When I say we, the council, it's in draft. We're getting close. I think we're more organised than what we've ever been in terms of our asks on state government as we head into this next election. And I can tell you that right now, the regional soccer facility is on that list, amongst a number of other things, but it's on there. So that's the first time I've seen it on a list like that. So that'll mean, provided it gets signed off on, that we will go to the state government as having this as one of our priority projects. Where to from here? Business case obviously has to get done. We're going to try and do that as quickly as we possibly can, but imminent, like now. And so that's what we're working on. Mike's working on. We're all working to try to get that done. And then, we really would love to see an election commitment. And I know that, and as Mike knows, Ella will be thinking about that. We'll just see what comes as we head towards November next year. My understanding, when I talk to football people, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, is this is a big project, and obviously it'll be delivered over time. But my understanding is the most important thing is pitches.
Yeah.
So if we're going to get money and we're going to agree on a site, then I think pitches is what we need to deliver as part of stage one, without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. We're speaking with Councillor Eddie Contal from the City of Greater Geelong, and also the Chair of the Football Geelong, Mike McKinstry. We're going to take a very short break, and when we return, we'll continue this important discussion.
The world is yours. So work hard, and you can have whatever it is you want.
I guess that's a nice little segue into one of our big business advertising sponsors, Curva, and just speaking to Adrian Lay, a former Socceroo, and he's just saying how much it's exploding, football, but not just like in the traditional strongholds of the northern suburbs, but the southern suburbs, the east and west, all over the place. And I guess one of the topics, and Mike, this is something I'm going to talk to you, a unified approach. Yes, we talk about a regional facility probably up in the north, obviously because of the close proximity to both Melbourne, Avalon Airport, the highways, the ring roads, etc. But we also talk about a sub-regional facility for the south. And look, I guess as Eddie said prior to the break, pitches are the absolute most important thing. But when we're trying to, I guess, create a unified approach, you deal with the clubs. How's that all coming along? How is it from a governing body's point of view? So obviously Football Victoria, but also GRFC, Geelong Region Football Committee. How's that all coming along? Are the clubs jumping on board? Is the football movement sort of jumping on board, or are we? Is there a little bit of that envy, a bit of that jealousy, or why is it in the north? Why is it in the south? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, look, I think that's largely a historical thing. I mean, I noticed that, sometimes look, and it comes from I think a place of passion, if you like, and desire to see things happen. So I get it. But I saw some commentary, I think after, maybe it was the last time we were on or whatever. Yeah. Somebody sort of jumps on with a comment and sort of everybody becomes we've all done it. We've all become a keyboard warrior for a second. True. But it's, oh my God, why is it in the north and not the south? But that's partly, I think, in fairness, because of maybe a lack of a full understanding of what is going on in both the north and the south. Yeah. It's not as though the south has been neglected. We're right in the middle, for example, of moving on to the next phase of development at Drysdale. So that's not yet happened, but it's been approved and it's in the process of happening. Ocean Grove are going to be moving to a place called Devlin's Road. That's going to be a significant investment. That's happening. Eddie's referred to also the expansion and creation of new pitches, and pitches is a key thing, as like Eddie said, in Armstrong Creek. So I know sometimes if you hear about an expansion, say in the north, you think, well, that means obviously to the deficit of the south. Wrong. Yeah. So some people have got to understand that and look, there's a phrase out there that probably a lot of people know about, a rising tide lifts all boats. I can guarantee you that certainly from my point of view in Football Geelong, we're not going to favour the north or the south. We're going to lift the whole region. And that's what Eddie and I are trying to do. And sometimes that historical frustration, I understand that it bubbles up. But look, if we don't show ourselves as a unified community trying to grow sport in the region, quite frankly, that plays into the hands of people that says, look, they're not unified. There isn't a clear plan. Yeah. Guess what will happen? Nothing. So we actually trip ourselves up. So for those people that are out there with the frustration and that passion, I love it. Please harness the passion, but try and drive it, I would say to you, in a positive way rather than a negative way. It's easy to throw a rock, but not everybody says, all right, well, what I'll do in support of this drive is I'll write to my local councillor to understand, are they on board and supporting? I'll write to my local politician and understand, are they on board and supporting? So if people do want to write things to make a change, we all know that if you whinge about it, it goes in the round file. It goes in the bin. People generally just discount it because it's just somebody having a bit of a crack. However, if it's done in a positive way, people go, hang on, that's a reinforcing message that we were getting from Eddie, from Mike, from the community. But I think that historical division is largely gone. And I find that when we meet on a monthly basis, and it's not always the president, often it's another senior rep or even a junior rep. I don't care who comes in terms of their seniority. It's more about their input and their positivity about trying to get things done. And in the main, I'm now beginning to find, and it's taken me probably about 5 years, when I first started as the chair, there was a bit of like you'd said, a little bit of and people come along to represent their own club, and that's what they should do. Yep. But I'm beginning to see now a lot more people are taking their club hat off and saying, hang on, what's the best for the region? And sometimes they're going, right, we'll step back. We had an investment last year. Somebody else gets to go at this year. So I think in that sense, the community is maturing in the sense of having a unified view. It's very much moving in that direction. Whilst there's overtones of that, it's generally from people that maybe are not necessarily as informed as they could be. So I'd encourage people to talk to their clubs and become informed, and that way you'll see that there is investment in the north and the south. And like you'd said, other factors, like part of the reason for it being the north is if we want to use it not only to give us pitches, but also to potentially use it for major events, then the proximity to the freeway, the proximity to Melbourne becomes a factor. And the reality is, look, I live in Clifton Springs. I'd love one in my backyard. It is not going to be very accessible for major events in Melbourne. So there's some practical considerations that have to be taken into account. But believe me, the South has not been left out.
Yeah. I don't know. Would you want to have it in your backyard if there's 5,000 cars and bumper to bumper traffic? But no, it's fantastic. Now, Eddie, you've really harnessed the cause. You've really pushed the cause of football in this region for a long, long time. And I guess you've worked with some phenomenal people, some colleagues of yours. But you've also worked with a lot of phenomenal people in the football industry. And you said yourself, I think in a past interview, you don't really have, you had daughters playing football at one stage, but you don't really have that vested interest, but you just see the passion, you just see how good it is for the community and the health of the kids and whatnot. How important is it to have really good quality people involved, not just the club level, but within Football Victoria, people who are involved as sponsors and all of that kind of stuff? And what's, in your opinion, how can we encourage other people that are out there? Because we've got some great businessmen at various clubs and what community activists. How can we best get these people involved?
Yeah, we've spoken about this before as well, Tonchi, is that what I've seen, at least in the last sort of decade, is that most clubs have matured significantly and they've become a lot more capable and much more organised in terms of their committees and the people that they have on them. Look, the more organised that you can be, the more capable people that you can have around you and a club, the more the club will prosper. We've seen that with other sports. I know we tend to look over the fence, and that's what you guys have just been talking about. We look over the fence at AFL.
Yeah.
Well, the fact of the matter is that AFL and netball, they've been around for a long time, of course. It is the fact that they are very organised.
Yeah.
And they speak at the right levels. They're continuing to speak about the requirements of the game. And the space that they occupy, and that's what we need to keep doing. That's what's happening here, and I see more and more of that. So the more organised that you can be, the more engaged you can be at all levels of government. So the clubs that are in this north area tend to speak to me a lot.
Yeah,
and that's helpful. One, for me, because I then can understand what's required, and when I go into a budget process or when there's grants coming up, I've always got that in mind. And two, they get results as a result of that. We've spent millions and millions of dollars on soccer, football, over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really important, Tonchi. You were talking about the South before, and I know I mentioned it before, I touched on it before, but right now, which occurred last week at the council meeting, we've got out for consultation what they call the Draft Coastline Drive Recreation Reserve. And that's in Armstrong Creek East in Horseshoe Bend Road. This development is going to go ahead because we have got developer funding for this to occur.
And that's important.
That's important. So communities should, right now, those that are got an interest in the South, go to have your say and provide feedback to the council on this and tell them how important you feel this is for soccer. And you'll see the plans. At the moment, there's already 4 pitches there, a pavilion. So this will be great. These will be pitches that will be coming up, before the sub-regional and the regional. So there is investment occurring. Back to your point, though, really important for us to be organised and for us to be in unity. That doesn't mean we have to agree on everything.
Yeah.
And we can't have robust discussions. We need to have that. That's what gets things moving. But let's do that in a proactive manner where we're pushing ahead, not pulling each other apart.
Yeah. Now, I'm talking about having the right people, having good quality people, high caliber people as well, and people who are able to take their club hats off and really look at the bigger picture. I guess we're getting that, we're developing it. But I want to touch on a recent appointment by Football Victoria of a well-known friend of ours, not a friend, but he's also a colleague and someone who's heavily respected in the football community here. He's the new regional development coordinator for the Wimmera region, GEELONG, who's comes from North Geelong, but he's done so many things with other clubs in various coaching advisory roles, has done some wonderful things with St. Joseph's College as well. Mike, that's a great appointment, isn't it? That's really going to take the football level to another level, community to another level.
Absolutely. We were delighted with someone of his calibre sort of put his hat in the ring, as it were, and obviously went through the process with Football Victoria and was appointed. And not only, apart from anything else, he brings obviously a lot of connection in football locally and his background. I mean, he was a freelance football director, all of those skills. But more importantly, I think in some ways, is for some of the reasons Eddie was referring to, having passion and so on about any sport is fantastic, but translating that sometimes to change management and then getting things to happen doesn't always translate. Joseph brings a lot of background. There's a lot of people out there that know from our community. He's got a lot of skills in project management, on governance and change management. So you bring that with the football background and the connectivity that he's got. I think it's a fantastic appointment. So he only just started. I've already spoke to him, welcoming him on board to the community. He's doing a lot of onboarding up at Melbourne with Football Victoria, as you'd expect in this early phases. But he's already, I think he's going to make a great contribution going forward. And I'm really looking forward to working with someone like him.
And I've spoken to Dan Burrell, the CEO of Football Victoria, on a number of occasions down in Melbourne with other football matters. But what strikes me about Dan and his team is they're willing to listen. And that's been one of the criticisms of Football Victoria in the past, that they don't listen to clubs. But Dan is one. So if you've got a leader like that who's willing to listen, it's going to be certainly heading in the right direction. Eddie, over to you, the last word, I guess. Anything that you'd like to say?
Firstly, I just glad that you touched on Josip Zilic, because in addition to everything that Mike said, the other thing that I see with Josip is that he has a respect from the general community. He has a respect from the football community, and I think people trust him. So I just think he's going to be fantastic for us. And if we're a bit selfish around the regional and the sub-regional facility, Josip's all over it. We've been talking about this for years, and he knows the importance of it. So I think it's going to be great to have him in our corner. Lastly, I guess is, as I probably left last time when we spoke about this topic, is one, let's get in behind these initiatives.
Yeah.
When you hear us talk about it, don't take it as, they're talking about it again. We're going to keep talking about it. We're going to talk about it every opportunity, every platform we get. And anytime you invite us, Tonchi, we're going to be on here talking about it, because we need to keep talking about it. But it's not just gas bagging. It's about making sure that there's a knowledge out there that this needs to occur, and that we need the groundswell behind us for it to occur. Let's keep putting a respectful pressure on myself, on the councillor group, on council, on state government, on federal government, on Mike and his team to make this happen. But let's get in behind it. And I'm positive this is going to happen. And we'll all be proud of it once it does. But we've got some heavy lifting still to do, and there'll be heavy lifting to do until it's delivered.
Yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. The passion in this room is just palpable, is just is amazing. And that is something that exists out there in the football community. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have to leave it at that, but really, really appreciate your input, and we look forward to having you guys on again with another update, maybe early next year, maybe next year, who knows, maybe even later this year.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good on you. Thank you. Eddie Contal and Mike McKinstry. We love having those two on the show, and boy, wasn't that an absolute fantastic discussion. Folks, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we've got another special guest tonight, Steve Sherry, who is the captain of the Bell Park Soccer Club in its halcyon days, 1988 to 1990. Don't go away. It's the Geelong Region Soccer Show you are watching.
Hi, I'm Joe Gergich.
And I'm Helena Fantella.
And welcome to our family here at Harcourts.
Welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show, and one of the clubs that this year has really backed us and really supported us is a very special club, actually, and all clubs are special, but this club in particular has been around for a long, long time, and some of the friendships, that was started 30 odd years ago. When a team was playing together, has lasted more than 3 decades. And that's the power of community football, and that's the power of clubs with real strong camaraderie and strong community links. And our next guest is going to talk to us about that very, very feeling, that very atmosphere that exists and continues to exist at a lot of our community clubs. And this gentleman, he was the captain of the Bell Park senior men's team back in 1988 and held that position for about 3 years. And recently, the crew of 88 to 1990 had a past players or a players reunion, if you like, up at the Bell Park Sports Club. To tell us all about that is the captain of that era, Steve Sherry. Steve, good evening and welcome to the Geelong Region Soccer Show. How are you?
Yeah, well, thanks, and good evening to you too, Tonch. Thanks for giving us the opportunity, I guess, to have a chat to people here.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. And I think the last time we spoke on a podcast was back in the Football Out West days. You may have been coaching, I don't know, Werribee City or something like that. But that was a little while ago, but nowhere near as long ago as 1988 to 90. And this is a post that was going back a few weeks now. When the Bell Park boys, as they were called, got together. And now you were the captain there, as it says, from 88 to 90, Greg Chapnick from 91. And one of the most illustrious players to play on the local scene, Tommy Cummings. He led the team back-to-back promotions from Div 3 to Div 2 and into Div 1. Gosh, that was such a long, long time ago, it seems. But then again, the years have gone by so quickly. Tell us, mate, first of all, what it was like to catch up with the crew a few weeks back now at Batesford.
Yeah, no, it was great actually, and hats off to Greg Chapnick who made the effort to bring it all together and kick that off. Look, it's something we've done a couple of times in the past, and it's always good to get together with the boys and reminisce on the days when we were getting good outcomes and good results, and just enjoying being at the club and enjoying the way we were treated at the club, I guess, as players that were, I'd like to think that we gave to the club, as much as we got. But having said that, look, the degree of just goodwill from the club to us as players, and friendships that were made, not just in the playing group, but across the club, within the committee, and within all of the volunteers that assist at the club, etc. It was like another home to us, basically.
Yeah.
And something that quite often on a Thursday night we'd get together. It was always Thursday nights when we'd have a meal, have a few drinks, and probably have a few too many, and then stay for a bit long. But we've got a million and one stories about what happened on those nights, which was, at times comical and at times just a good place to be and good to get back to people to be with.
Yeah, and it's changed so much, hasn't it? I mean, back in those days, I mean, still it was a great club, and I was a little kid going back in those days, and it was a completely different era. But mate, what the new leadership under Rose Piratina and crew have done. Transformed the whole place into an incredible venue. I mean, arguably one of the best, if not the best, football venues, with the undercover grandstand seating, the great new change rooms, the lights, the floodlights. It really is a fantastic venue compared to, I guess, back in the 80s and 90s. Even then, the clubhouse was pretty good, wasn't it?
Oh, the clubhouse was always great, and and the management committee there were always fantastic at running events, and whether it was a Father's Day event for predominantly the local community, or whether it was a sports-based event, the events are always great. The volunteers were always, highly skilled in their ability to produce a good environment, produce great food, and to just make people feel at home. The grounds itself were a bit more difficult. We used to refer to it, I think everyone referred to it as the Batesford Bog in the old days, where, whether you're training on the first pitch or the second pitch, you were pretty much going to get what you got. So it was at times a little bit difficult. But look, having said that, it was very much to do with the era, I guess. It wasn't just that club at that level, because reality is, as compared to now and the guidelines that are in place for the quality of the pitches and how they're presented to players, God, I only wish we had that when we were young. But no, we learned how to toe poke the ball effectively when it was too muddy and all that sort of business. And I guess that's something kids nowadays miss out on.
Yeah. Now, you were at the helm there in the in 88, 89 and 1990. And, like in some respects, it was probably the halcyon days of the club. They were playing up in State League One, or got to that division. Who were some of the most, we mentioned Tommy Cumming, but who were some of the players that you really kind of were in awe at the time? I mean, who were some of the players that really stood out for you, and just really probably should have been playing maybe even at a higher level?
Yeah, well, I think we actually had some players that had played at a higher level, or had come in, from having played at a higher level. But similar to myself, I guess, the decision I made to move to Geelong and to live in the local community there meant that it was obviously a lot more attractive for me to play there rather than it was to commute up and down to Melbourne all of the time. Other players sort of in a similar frame were Suki Jovanovic, who was, look, I knew Suki from previous days down at George Cross and Sunshine. And Suki his skills were just sublime. He was just very, very gifted, played at the top level in overseas, in his home country. And at times, and I listen to the players now, because I knew Suki for so long. I guess I took his skills for granted to some extent, but I listen to the boys now where they just talk about being in awe as to how easily he would make them look stupid.
Yeah.
So no, Suki was a great player. We also, as you mentioned, Tommy was, well, there's no need to really talk about Tommy. Tommy's CV and his reputation speak for itself.
I mean, back then, in the mid-'80s, if I'm not mistaken, he'd played in the then National Soccer League. I know he played for Melbourne, Croatia, and a lot of Melbourne, Croatia fans fondly remember him. Was he at Green Gully as well, I think?
He was at Melbourne, Croatia, for sure. He was at Sunshine City when he first came out to Australia for the first couple of years. I think he went to Croatia after that, and I'm not sure... Beyond that, I'm not sure exactly how it worked out, but then he was with us for a couple of years, obviously to our benefit, and then played at Keeler with some of his mates from the past, the likes of Peter Lewis, and to such a point, I recall we actually played at Keeler against Tommy and Peter one time, which was a bit unfortunate because Tommy was always difficult to play against, as was Peter. I'm not sure of all the clubs he played through.
No.
But I also know that he, at the time, won the what was referred to as the Rothmans Medal for Player of the Season, two seasons running, I think it was. Yeah. So, and he was just a phenomenon. He just had that, the stature. He was very short, but hell, he was strong.
Tough as nails.
You'd never get him off the ball. I tried many a time at training night, and it was very difficult. Yeah.
Galvanizing is a locally owned and operated company that is a leading provider of protective steel applications, including hot dip galvanizing, steel fabrication, painting, duplex coatings, and transport logistics. With a commitment to quality and efficiency, we deliver durable, high-performance solutions tailored to the needs of our clients across various industries. Our key capabilities include blast and paint, galvanizing, fabrication, accreditations and inspection services, transport and logistics. We offer end-to-end services from fabrication right through to delivery. For more information about what we can offer you, contact us on 5275 7555. Visit our website at www.geelonggale.com.au or pop in and see us at our factory at 360 Bacchus Marsh Road, Corio.
It was very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He came up to me a few years back when it was the Masters Summer League, and he mentioned it, and I put two and two together, and I think we talked for another half an hour about some of the good old days, and he goes, he remembers playing a lot against a lot of the players then who were in the Masters League going back 3 or so years ago. So it's quite an eventful thing. But at a recent game at North Geelong Warriors, I started speaking to Paul Bay, who's now one of the junior coaches there at North Geelong, and who's got some very, very talented sons, by the way, and started talking about the event at Bell Park. And I've turned around and there's Mick Opperman, father of Ryan Opperman. And then I turn around and there's yourself, and your son plays at North Geelong Warriors at the moment. Cameron Sherry did, and he's been part of the promotion winning team. But my point is, everyone was there, and you sort of still have that camaraderie, still have that friendship, even though you guys are all kind of different generations, I suppose, but you're still there. You're all hung around together, and it's wonderful to see. And I guess that's one of those amazing things about these community clubs, that it breeds lifelong friendships, doesn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the atmosphere at North Geelong again was great on Saturday night. Not purely due to the result, but obviously the results help. But additionally, they the way that they run the club and make opposition teams feel as welcome as their own teams. And the teams, as they come out of the change rooms, rubbing shoulders with the spectators and sort of making themselves available to the spectators. Again, I think that's what shows, as you said, in community football, how accessible it is to get close to players, to get close to the action, and to show your appreciation. And the players love it, people love it, and that's what creates the clubs.
Yeah. Now, coming up on at the last home game of the season for Bell Park against Barnstoneworth on August the 23rd, so that's coming up very, very shortly. The club has announced it will be hosting a past players night. So this is something just general. Any past player will be able to attend. And have you heard much about that, or it's just going to be an opportunity now for a lot of different generations to come together and, like what you guys did, just sort of reminisce about the good old days, or maybe the bad old days?
Yeah, we had a little bit of both. Yeah, no, look, yes, there is an event on the 23rd of August. It lines up with the final home and away game against Barnstoneworth. The club's travelling quite well and well poised for promotion this year as well, which is great. And hopefully they'll be able to carry it through the next few weeks, and that'll be a night that we can celebrate with the current players and the current group as well. Look. All players, regardless of the era that they've played in at Bell Park, are invited to attend. And I can only imagine that it'll be a great event. The club, as I said, when we were there, the club was like a second home for us, and we were brothers in arms. And whether it's our group specifically, or whether it's the other groups that are coming on, I think we all have that common hopefully experience that our group have had across the board, that we can celebrate the night together with the club.
Should be fantastic, mate. And you've been involved in football a lot, whether it's obviously through your son and getting involved in that, but you've also coached quite extensively. Are you still involved with the game in a direct sense, coaching, or you prefer to just sit back and just go to games and be a spectator and have fun?
Yeah, it's sort of more the latter for me now, Tonch. I, as you said, got involved with coaching as well. Seems to be something that runs in the family, because my father was a coach, and he coached me throughout my formative years as well. And then, obviously I spent a little bit of time with the youth and then the senior teams. And indeed, my wife, who had never played football at all, decided to be a coach at one point in time when we set up a girls' team to allow my daughter to play
Oh,
beyond
wow.
under 14 years of age.
And where was that? Which club was that?
Now that was at Williamstown.
Okay, fantastic.
So we established the inaugural Williamstown girls team, which allowed the girls to continue on rather than just disappear once they reached 14.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of coaching, I guess, in our blood. But no, I'm taking a bit of a back step now, and just enjoying just being in the peripheral and being with the boys and rekindling old friendships at times when I see guys at matches that I haven't seen for a while. But additionally, just to have a look at games that I'm interested in, or to support my family.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, as the end of the season fast approaches, I think it's for a lot of folks out there, it's one of the most depressing times of the year because there's no football on the Saturday or a Friday night. So we'll have to enjoy these last few weeks. And if you're not doing anything, and you were a past player of the Bell Park Soccer Club, or indeed maybe played against them, get up to the Batesford ground there on August the 23rd, the final home game of the season. We'll pop that up there against there. In the game against Barnstoneworth United, you might come up against some of those players of yesteryear that you either watched or you maybe played against or maybe played with. Steve, thank you so much for joining us on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Really, really appreciate it.
Our pleasure, Tons. Anytime.
Good on you. Steve Sherry, he was the captain of the Bell Park Soccer Club men's team. Well, back then they only had a men's team from 1988 to 1990. Great stuff, reminiscing about the past and what football was. Quite rich, and it's got quite a rich history here in Geelong, and no doubt a even richer future with so many different generations coming together. We're going to take a very short break, and after the break, we will continue with tonight's episode of the Geelong Region Soccer Show, proudly brought to you by our major sponsor, The Gordon. Just Turfing Instant Turf is a local, family-owned and operated company which guarantees top quality products and service. Whether you need turf for a small front garden or a large landscaping project, Just Turfing Instant Turf are the turf installer experts you can trust. They supply and install for most major landscapers in Melbourne and Geelong, with a wide range of premium instant turf and a full suite of turf care products. Chloe and the team at Just Turfing are sure to have all your turf needs covered. Their Melbourne, Geelong and Victorian regional distribution means they can supply your area with fresh cut turf installed the same day, hassle-free. Turf options that are available include Eureka Kikuyu, Santa Ana, Tiff Tuff, Sir Walter Buffalo and Sir Grange. For more information, contact either Chloe on 0431 571 558 or Josh on 0457 174 111. Welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show, and that brings us to the end of tonight's episode. Thank you for being a part of our show tonight. Next week, we're going to focus on the south of the Barwon, and we've got three fantastic guests lined up for next week. We're going to be speaking with former Surf Coast junior coach who's doing some wonderful things at the Western United Development Centre, and he's also started his own video analysis business as well. We're talking about Ash Carthew, young coach who's going places in the Geelong region. We'll also be speaking to the coach of the Barwon Heads under-14 girls team, who is forming a composite team and he's taking that composite team to the annual Singer Cup tournament, the junior tournament, a very prestigious regional junior event in Singapore later this year. We'll also be talking to the president of the Deakin Ducks, Sam Robinson. They're going to have a very special charity day coming up in the next few weeks, a day for Huxley, and he'll be telling us all about that. That's on next Monday night at 8 p.m. Until then, Folks, have a wonderful, wonderful week. Good night for now.